At the time of filming this video, it's January 5th, which means that Trump becomes president in 14 days, 11 hours, and 46 minutes. But who's counting?
Well, if you are a right-leaning young person who had his healthcare costs skyrocket under a law that somehow expected prices to drop after artificially inflating demand, while simultaneously having to move from California to Alaska because the unskilled job market was drowning in illegal immigration so much that it became a requirement to know someone personally to even get an interview, you probably would be counting the minutes where someone who represents your interests take power.
So, title of this video, are Trump protesters overreacting?
Oh, good lord. Finally, someone on the feminist YouTube side notices. Someone notices that maybe rioting, looting, assaulting random people for the color of their skin, annoying the current president with loud shouting outside the White House while they're probably just sitting down for dinner, kidnapping and torturing a mentally ill person while shouting fuck Trump and fuck white people may just be a little over the top.
Led to you electing a racist?
God damn it, Marina.
That makes sense. So if you're watching this video, then you may or may not be familiar with another video I put up shortly after Trump was elected called If You Voted for Trump.
I saw that video. I thought you were full of horse pucky then, too.
That was a way for me to get out my emotions and kind of echo a lot of similar emotions that I saw people around me also expressing. I think a lot of people are afraid right now, and I don't think that fear is irrational. I turn on the news and I see horrifying images of people being decimated in Aleppo.
Funny you should say that. The candidate you supported, Hillary Clinton, wanted to put a no-fly zone over Syria, which would have interfered with the Russian campaign against the ones that were brutalizing Aleppo in the first place, and caused a war with Russia that would have made the Bush and Obama's adventures in Afghanistan and Iraq look like the Panamanian invasion.
The CIA has literally confirmed that Russia interfered in our election.
You mean the same people that said Saddam Hussein had nuclear weapons?
And apparently China has some nukes that it's just been showing off.
This is what happens when today's youth looks at the outside world and knows nothing. China has been showing off its nukes since it first got them in the 1960s. It's not even for us anymore. It's for them, their own people. It's to show the people that this glorious communist utopia, that the ruling powers are there for a reason. To show their people that their horrendous working conditions, such that they have to put up nets over factory roofs to keep workers from jumping and chaining children to factory floors in order to keep them from wandering off after a 12-hour shift, is for a reason. North Korea does the exact same thing, along with giving its own people meth to take their minds off the fact that they are starving.
It's a really scary political climate right now, and I don't think that people being afraid of what this upcoming presidency might mean is misplaced at all.
I would never say that wariness of the future is a bad thing, quite the opposite. Fearing financial difficulties causing you to save up for a rainy day is nothing short of good sense. Fearing for the safety of your family causing you to safeguard your home with or without firearms is never wrong. But rioting and attacking innocent people merely because they have a different skin color than you or they have different political beliefs is not fearing for the future. It's you being a menace, and it erodes the very foundation of liberty. It's at this point that I want to return to the comment I made earlier in the video. The Affordable Care Act has caused a rise in premiums unheard of in any time in the healthcare markets industry. This is because it artificially raised demand via its individual mandate, without correspondingly increasing the supply of insurers. In Alaska, where I live, there used to be 2 insurers for health insurance, but because of the ACA, one left the state, and now you can only buy Blue Shield, which has raised its premiums and copays because it can't cope with demand. For Planned Parenthood, I don't care what you think about abortion. Planned Parenthood is a private charity, and it should succeed or fail based on its own merits or failures, not because the government doles out millions in corporate welfare. And finally, the wall is going to be funded by taxes and tariffs on anything coming out of Mexico and financial transfers going to Mexico, along with the cessation of foreign aid to Mexico and using the money to pay for it. This plan hasn't changed at all, and in fact has been one of the few things about the Trump campaign promises that hasn't changed since day one.
I got a lot of harassment and anger and hate in the comments of my Trump video, and that was partially because a certain angry atheist on the internet with 1 million followers made a response to that.
If you are talking about Undoomed, there is a good reason he got to where he is. It's because he attacks arguments, not people. Yes, he throws around moron like it's candy, but it's always in response to arguments, not because of race or sex or even political opinion. I have watched a lot of his videos, and for the life of me, I can't tell you anything about his politics except that he hates authoritarians, right or left. That could easily be because he uploads videos at the pace of a snail, super glued to a block of iron on a stationary bike. Hint, hint, if you are watching.
But also, I think because it was a pretty emotional video and I didn't get to articulate why I felt that way, people just kind of made a lot of assumptions. So I wanted to take...
Well, you know what they say about assumptions. On a related note, can anyone tell me if Marina Shutup has a really nice ass? I mean, God's gotta compensate, right?
Take the time to explain why it is that I'm afraid.
God damn it, was that only an intro we just got through?
Okay, so let's start with everything Trump has said.
Starting a little ambitious here, aren't you? Alright, someone call his mom. If we're gonna start at the beginning, we're going all the way to the beginning.
So, starting off strong already.
Oh look, she's starting on one of his first flip-flops. One that was caused because of popular backlash from his own supporters.
I mean, historically speaking, requiring populations that you've systematically primed your supporters to hate and fear to register for a special list so it's easier to target them is not a great sign.
You mean like the federal government has been systematically doing to legal firearm owners for the past 20 years?
There was Proclamation 2537, which required Japanese, Italian, and German people to register with the Department of Defense. And following that, Japanese people were put into internment camps.
So what you're afraid of is that Republicans will start acting like Democrats?
Which was fun. And what was that other list? God, I just feel like I'm missing something.
You're missing a lot of things. You're going to have to be more specific than that.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
Donald Trump, America's sexist, overbearing father who not so secretly thinks his daughter is kind of hot.
I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know?
Stop it! Oh, it's so weird. Stop. You know what?
I'm sorry, but are you trying to say that Ivanka Trump is not hot? Marina, I would rail the living shit out of Ivanka Trump if she let me. I mean, I'm doubting whether or not she came from him himself. I mean, look at that ugly mug and look at that beautiful angelic face.
The next one is a big one, a cornerstone of Donald Trump's presidential campaign.
Apparently, it's surprising to Marina that people actually care about immigration, specifically about solutions other than just allowing people who break the law and come and live here without our permission. You know, something that's a sign of a sovereign nation.
And it's almost as big as the wall he wants to build to keep out a growing list of marginalized communities.
Said marginalized communities in the state of California can not only apply for and receive special driver's licenses, but they also get free access to Medicaid. They get free access to welfare. They can send their children to school for free without paying taxes, and they can even get scholarships specifically designed to allow the children of legal immigrants or illegal immigrants themselves to go to higher education. It is embarrassing that illegal immigrants who break the law by being here get better benefits than the people who have literally lost limbs defending this country.
Such as immigrants, Muslims, Rosie O'Donnell, and I'm sure he'll come up with something else next. Even more so than Trump himself, who is basically requiring extra tutoring from Obama because he, quote, is surprised at the scope of the president's duties.
This is Obama in September of 2008 before he won the election. This is Obama after he won the election during the transition. It looks like he aged 4 years in the space of a month. Being the president is a very hard, very complicated job, especially when you fuck it up like Obama has.
What scares me even more are the people that he's choosing to surround himself with. Reince Priebus, who sounds like a real-life Disney villain.
That is some cutting-edge political commentary there, Marina. I expect nothing less from someone pursuing a gender studies degree.
Is Trump's pick for chief of staff. He assures us that the Trump administration is not interested in a registry for Muslims, but it worries me that they had to dispel that rumor in the first place.
It's apparently only necessary to people who didn't pay attention during the campaign. The closest one to you is right in the mirror.
Well, not so much a rumor as it was a direct quote from Trump himself, or Trump's national security advisor, who once said, "Fear of Muslims is rational." Is it, though?
That question would be better served to the woman of Cologne in 2015 on New Year's Eve.
Priebus did, however, say that he would like to put a freeze on immigration from areas where terrorists are from.
I bet there are a bunch of German and French women who would love to have someone with Priebus attitude and power in their own country.
So you mean... Well, what about... Oh, I have one.
So you mean... But what about... Oh, I know. The last one were two radical Islamists who used illegally purchased firearms to kill 14 innocent people in California, which happened while I was still living there and only a few hours away from where my parents and little sisters lived.
Steve Bannon, who has been appointed as chief White House strategist and has been referred to by the media as homophobic, anti-Semitic, and a white nationalist.
You mean the guy who hired a Jew as a senior editor?
Which in this day and age is really just a euphemism for neo-Nazi.
You mean the guy who hired a gay Jew as senior editor?
But let's give this guy a chance. How do we really know that he's that bad at being a person? He was charged with domestic violence, battery, and dissuading a witness from testifying by his ex-wife, who also stated under oath that he refused to send his children to a school with, quote, too many Jews.
Gives two Jews very senior positions in the company that he heads.
Nah, it doesn't sound anti-Semitic at all. He's also executive chairman for Breitbart News, which is a website I had not heard of until recently, and I wish that I could go back to that place of ignorance.
It's too late. You've seen the light. Pretty soon you'll start shouting that taxation is theft.
Breitbart once published an article titled, "There is no hiring bias against women. They just suck at interviews."
Sounds like the sort of thing you'd find at BuzzFeed, but pointed at different people. Except unlike BuzzFeed, this one could be constructive because you could find out what not to do in an interview.
Bannon credits himself with steering the news site into a more alt-right and nationalistic Nazi direction. Sorry.
Two Jews!
Sorry, I just got a little something. Even Glenn Beck, who is known for his conservatism and anti-political correctness, referred to Bannon as a, quote, nightmare. According to Glenn Beck, Bannon has a clear tie to white nationalists. He's a guy that wants to tear the system down and wants to replace it with a new system, which is
conveniently ignores the fact that Glenn Beck and Steve Bannon are actually competitors in the same line of work.
Isn't a bad thing in and of itself. Perhaps he might design a better system. Well, according to KKK leader David Duke, Bannon is basically creating the ideological aspects of where we're going. Can you say yikes?
The Communist Party backed both Clinton and Sanders, but I guess it's only bad when an evil ideology backs the opponent's candidate, isn't it?
Bannon once told women who were receiving targeted harassment and threats online to just log off and to stop screwing up the internet for men.
1. That is a legitimate way of avoiding harassment, by not going to where you are harassed. Not the best, but it's still a way. 2. Maybe he wouldn't say it if feminists didn't go before the UN demanding censorship over the internet.
Perhaps the most sinister thing that Bannon or any human person has ever said was, "Darkness is good. Dick Cheney, Darth Vader, Satan, that's power. It only helps us when liberals get it wrong, when they're blind to who we are and what we are doing."
Are you really bagging on him for comparing himself to Darth Vader? Who the fuck wouldn't compare themselves to Darth Vader? I mean, have you seen him? That guy oozes awesome. He pisses cool, and he shits greatness.
Then his eyes glazed over, a sinister smile crept across his lips, and he started burning actual puppies alive.
Don't give me that look. I deserve this.
Like, not only is he comparing himself to Darth Vader, you know, everyone's favorite fictional hero, but he's also literally warning liberals to watch out for him. Honestly,
Meanwhile, the ones you should fear are Milo Yiannopoulos and Ben Shapiro. Those cats will destroy you and everything you hold dear, with Milo looking absolutely fabulous doing so.
I could go on and on about all of the horrible shit that Steve Bannon has said and done.
Please don't. It's almost 3 a.m. and my insomnia is finally starting to recede.
But then I wouldn't have time for the next person,
God damn it, Marina.
who is arguably maybe even more horrible. Mike Pence.
Donald, charge the batteries.
Just all of it. The whole thing. Some of his greatest hits include advocating for the reversal of laws put into place to prevent discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation.
She's talking about the Religious Freedom and Restoration Act, which even as an atheist I support. And I will support it until someone tells me how is it that forcing someone to cater to your wedding under pain of being forcefully shoved into a windowless room for a long time is somehow more moral than you finding another caterer.
And encouraging people to electrocute the hell out of gay kids until maybe they turn straight.
How much money you want to bet that she's going to make a comment about fake news? Because this is it. Pence never said shit about electric conversion therapy or even conversion therapy to begin with. Even the site that said he did, PolitiFact, recanted on that statement. An instance was his list of issues as a senator, specifically about federal funding for certain charities to help stop the spread of AIDS, specifically targeting groups that acted more as condom dispensaries than as educational ones, where abstinence was the primary method taught. The specific wording was about warning against promiscuous lifestyles, which can be gay or straight. That being said, we gotta keep those memes coming, ladies and gentlemen. Keep those memes coming.
Vladimir Putin.
God damn it, Marina! I'd like to go to bed and lie awake waiting for the sweet embrace of sleep that will never come.
Who literally interfered with the results of our election.
Marina is apparently the girl who cheats on you and then flips out about you not trusting her when you catch her. Clinton kept top secret information on a private server. The Navy just sent a young man to prison for 5 years after he brought a camera into the reactor room of a submarine while he was deployed. Literally, the cell plan of God could not send this selfie. Yet Clinton didn't get punished with what could easily be considered criminal negligence, and she has the audacity to say the Russians hacked the election.
That's it. That's all I gotta say about that. Pretty self-explanatory. Honestly, that's it. I'm fucking done.
You're not the only one. In closing, I want to say this. I have nothing against immigrants. I'm actually in favor of lowering restrictions on immigrants at all levels so long as they can be vetted in their country of origin. Yes, even ones in the Middle East. I am even in favor of amnesty, even general amnesty, to illegal immigrants after the border is secured. I want these people to enjoy my country. I want them to become American citizens. I want them to freeze their balls off with me in Alaska. I don't even like Trump all that much. I disagree with most of his trade policies, and he's the only one starting to win me over by naming General Mattis as his Secretary of Defense. What I would like to see from mainstream Democrats and the left in general is them actually caring about our country, about everyone, black, white, man, woman, whatever, and not some small group who once upon a time was oppressed, and definitely not thinking that two wrongs make a right, because if they continue to push people further and further right until we have to choose between one authoritarian or another.